I read a quote recently by Cynthia Acheli that really struck a chord. She said, "For a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must come completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it looks like complete destruction." So in May of 2017, as I prepared to launch the Simple Sales System, I certainly wasn't thinking of my business as a seed. I had been in business for 7 years, and in many ways, I was doing great. So this launch felt more like a last-ditch effort to save my business than some kind of new beginning. But I guess that's how a lot of new beginnings go. When I think about my business now versus my business then, how much growth and stability and confidence I now have that were basically impossible for me to even imagine at that time, it absolutely was. My business was just a seed, and making those big changes was scary, like the shell was cracking open and the insides were coming out. Here I had this client list that I had worked so hard to build. I loved those clients. They loved what I provided, and I really felt like, am I going to lose everyone? What about the new clients that were calling, right? The Simple Sales System was brand new. Nobody else was doing it. So was I going to be able to convey the value? Would I be able to get anyone to keep booking me? And then I was worried about the tech. Now, I had built my business on this very sort of high-touch manual foundation, and here I was switching to what I believed would still be a personal kind of a process, but it was going to be highly automated. I was going to have to rely on technology. Would that mean that my clients felt less connected to me? Would they feel like they were getting lesser service or that service wasn't worth as much? Finally, there was my biggest doubt of all. I don't know about you, but whenever I hear someone talking about making more money in less time, my, spidey senses go up and I assume that they're full of it. And here I was trying to sell myself on the same idea that I could make the same money, charge the same amount of money, but do my job in a fraction of the time. So was I full of it? Was this really possible? The thing was, I didn't have a whole lot of time to test this hypothesis. I had just come away from a 14-year marriage with shockingly little money in the bank and very real bills to pay, not to mention 2 growing boys to feed. So I figured I can either give up and go straight back to my old job, or I can try this idea for a couple of months, and if it doesn't work, then I can go back. But obviously, I'm not here today to tell you about my failed experiment and my re-entry into the world of nursing. I'm here to tell you about the system that changed my entire life for the better and has now done the same for thousands of people around the world. So straight out of the gate, the Simple Sales System revolutionized my business in a way that I would never have believed if I didn't live it. In December of 2017, so let's see, that's 7 months later, I logged into my accounting software and I watched as my income crossed the 6-figure mark for the first time in the history of my business. So in just 7 months, my income had skyrocketed by well over 30%, even though when I calculated it, I had cut my work time by more than half. Making more money meant that I felt less desperate, right? I was able to start saying no to jobs that didn't align with my artistic vision and values, which then made time for all kinds of opportunities that I might have otherwise missed. I was getting better clients that were sort of gelling better with what I wanted to be doing in my business. But even more important was the time I was saving. Instead of, staying up late each night or paying a babysitter while I was working on the weekends, I was able to focus on being really present with my kids, who needed me a lot at that time. And in many ways, that was the most important part of all. So that's how the system worked for me. And it honestly has just gotten better ever since. But, I know that in a lot of these kinds of stories, my thought is like, okay, yeah, but my circumstances are different, or, my needs are different. My business is different. So maybe you're feeling that way and you're thinking like that worked for you, but it doesn't work for me. And I totally get that. And that's why in the next episode, I am going to kind of go back and deep dive, not just the steps of the system that we covered, But the why of the system, why each of those steps works the way it works, and why I fully believe, having now seen it work for so many different businesses, that it can work regardless of your niche, your price point, and how long you've been in business. All right, now let's shift gears and hear some real life results using the Simple Sales system.
So it's definitely elevated the experience for everybody. And clients who have gone through my all-inclusive pricing before and now have gone through Simple Sales are just like, whoa, Monica, like, this is amazing.
So my business has improved so much just this past year since I really dedicated and went full into Simple Sales. Like I said prior, I was, hitting rate at 100K before moving into Simple Sales, but I wanted to increase that number. And going full in this year, I've more than doubled that revenue, which was like, it far surpassed my goals for the year. I couldn't even believe it, to be honest.
For the first 6 months, my income stayed about the same, as I saw a little bit of a drop off, maybe 25%, which resulted in about a steady income. And then every 6 months after that, it grew leaps and bounds, probably 50% each 6 months, up until I went from, I believe my yearly income prior to implementing Simple Sales was around $85,000 a year, and now I'm up to $250,000 a year, which is such an incredible jump that it just is hard to even believe.
If you're ready to make your photography business more profitable, more efficient, and more attractive to your ideal clients, you're ready for the Simple Sales system. Click the link in the show notes or visit thiscan'tbethathard.com/simplesales to get started.